Hey everybody, this is HD. Welcome back. It's time for the final game in the HD World Tournament in the round of 16. That's right. It is the last series of games here. It is going to be between Sen and WhiteRa, and I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this game. This is going to be a Protoss versus Zerg, and once again, it is a best of 3. Now remember, being as this is the last round of 16 games that are following this will be the round of 8. And if you guys haven't really been keeping up with the brackets or the tournaments and you guys are kind of lost as to where the standings are, following this series of games, I will be uploading a kind of round of 8 update video for the HD World Tournament for all you guys to keep up to date. And yeah, I'm really excited because I think the tournament has really started to pick up pace lately. The players have started to submit more of their games as the games have kind of gotten closer and closer to the semis and the finals. Yeah, this is going to be a Protoss versus Zerg, and already something that might be a little peculiar is that it is not going to be on Tal'Darim Altar. The first map is actually Shattered Temple, and I guess apparently the players didn't get the memo. And the games have already been played out, so I'm not going to be like, guys, you have to restart your game because it was on the wrong map. I'm going to just go ahead and let this slide. Shattered Temple is still a very balanced map, obviously. Not as big as Tal'Darim, but that's alright. Anyways, it is going to be Sen versus WhiteRa, and wow, what an epic battle between these two players that could possibly unfold. I mean, as you guys all know, Sen, a very, very good Taiwanese player, one of the best in the world. And WhiteRa, do I really need to introduce him? He's recently changed his name. No, I guess not recently, but he's changed his name since Starcraft 2 has been launched into DuckloadRa. Duckload apparently being the sponsoring company that now pays for most of his expenses and sponsors a lot of his play and work in Starcraft 2. And yeah, that's pretty much all the introductions I really need to say. I don't think I'm missing anything else here. And of course, if this ends up being a 2-0 sweep, then there will be some crazy game coming out after this. If you guys have not been watching the third game in every series, some of them are spoiler videos, which means that I just do some really crazy cheese, or I do something that is completely unorthodox just to make it more interesting and fun. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Concluding the round of 16 here, Sen versus WhiteRa. One thing also to note is Sen is actually not playing on his main account. He's playing on Zerg King's account, and I don't actually know who Zerg King is, so presumably just a friend or maybe somebody who has a North American account. Anyways, a little peculiar right here, the fact that Sen has still not gotten his hatchery. Looks like he may be going for a pretty late one here, 22 hatch. After opening up with pool and gas, so he is going to have a couple Zerglings out, and then he's going to throw down that hatchery. The nice thing about this build, obviously, it allows you to get these Zerglings out, which can push away this probe. It can take out the pylon that may be blocking the hatchery. It doesn't look like WhiteRa really wanted to commit to that, and ooh, WhiteRa might be in a little bit of trouble here. Not blocking off his ramp with the gateway. That is very interesting. The fact that, I mean, most Protoss players will usually go Cybercore and gateway at the ramp just to block off the Zergling from running in by using a single Zealot, but this is very peculiar. Now WhiteRa is saying, okay, I need to maybe get another gateway down there. Yeah, there you go. You're not playing a Protoss versus Terran. I'm a little peculiar why he decided to do that, but he has taken out every single Zergling with the help of the Stalker here, and it looks like he will be throwing down a third gate. Now, taking a look at WhiteRa's gas, this is what can usually tell what the Protoss player is going to do. As you guys can see, he's got 2 gas, a lot of probes harvesting the gas, and I would almost certainly bet there's a sentry coming out of this gateway. Now, as you guys can see, yes, a sentry on the way. So it does look like WhiteRa will be going for the 3-gate Expo build. And this is something that's very powerful against Zerg players, because 3 gates provides you the protection you need to get that early expansion, as well as your sentries for force fields. But Sen here may have other ideas, guys. He's got a bunch of speedlings out here, and this is because he opened up with that early gas and pool. I don't think he'll be able to penetrate the Protoss, though. Oh, nice little wall right here with the Zealot and a force field, and a probe even behind the Zealot to make sure those Zerglings cannot run in. Now the warp gate's warping out, and WhiteRa here in a little bit of trouble, allowing a slight gap for these Zerglings to get in. And once again, Sen getting inside the base of WhiteRa. And this is horrible, especially if he loses any probes. He is going to lose 2. That is definitely going to hurt. And now WhiteRa's kind of jig is up, because the real thing for Sen right there isn't killing probes, it's running inside and figuring out what exactly WhiteRa is up to, and he sees it is 3-gate Expo. He doesn't even need to see this expansion. Well, actually he does see it with an Overlord over here, so now he knows for sure, if he was in any doubt whatsoever before, that it is in fact a 3-gate Expo. And now for the Zerg, you've got two options. You can either just go all in and try to bust the Protoss down, or you can just play standard macro. And I think most players, you know, they'll opt to play standard macro. I think Sen will just continue to pump a good amount of drones. Maybe around this time is a good amount to pump like 10 to 15 drones, really get an economic advantage over the Protoss, and look to grab your third Expo somewhere on the map. Finally, the Zergling getting taken out. WhiteRa not really happy about that Zergling getting a full scout off, because of course he's had to really he hasn't been able to, you know, do any kind of surprise tech switch, throw down a Twilight Council and go for Blink Stalkers or maybe even Dark Templar. No, he's really, his entire build has been revealed. The Zerg knows what is going on right now, and interestingly enough, I haven't seen any drones being made for Sen. Sen here, aka Zerg King, his alternate account, has actually gone for a big Roach army here, and he may be thinking about going for a Roach bust, but with a ton of sentries. This is what the Protoss player loves. When you have those sentries out, you can really keep those Roaches at bay. Roaches obviously not having the range necessary to deal with the force fields, especially a good Protoss player like WhiteRa, but this could be pretty bad. Those Roaches doing some serious damage to the buildings over here, and force fields almost locking the Roaches, and yeah, nice force fields by WhiteRa, but WhiteRa needs more Stalkers in the back of his army here. He may not have enough units to deal with the impending threat of Zerg units, and he's gonna fall back to his cannon. The cannon may be able to provide some protection here, but WhiteRa needs more forces. The cannon finally going down, and Sen continuing to pour forces in. 20 Zerglings on the production tab as well, guys, and WhiteRa is in a lot of trouble, has to pull probes off the line to deal with this situation here, and you guys can see WhiteRa's probe advantage is now starting to dwindle down below the Zerg player. WhiteRa is in a lot of trouble now. The 20 Zerglings have arrived, and WhiteRa realizing, uh-oh, I need to throw a ton of cannons up. But it looks like Sen is, wow, he's just gonna run right by those Stalkers and get right into the main, and uh-oh, probes. This is not a happy situation. The probes will be forced to fend for themselves. WhiteRa actually warping in 2 Zealots there to deal with the Zerglings, so nice little maneuver there. But this is a bad situation for WhiteRa, because he has to basically pull his army units into the middle. He has to use his production cycle for his warp gates on making Zealots inside the main rather than bulking up on forces at the front door. And look at this dismal army of just a Stalker and 2 Zealots and 2 cannons. That will not be enough to hold off against those Roaches that are starting to amass in front of WhiteRa's natural expansion, and he's still forced to deal with the Zerglings out here. This is just getting more and more bleak for our Protoss player. Look at Sen now, 41 Harvesters over 27. WhiteRa never getting a chance to really sit back and play the macro game that I'm sure he's wanted to. He's really been under the back foot as Sen has just applied constant pressure here, now finally getting up to layer tech. And really, you don't need layer tech if you're going to go with this early aggression in the early game. You don't really need Roach speed or anything like that. You just need a ton of Roaches and a ton of Speedlings, and you can do some serious damage to a Protoss player who's doing this 3-gate Expo, especially if they don't expect just a large amass of units, because, you know, most Protoss players will expect a Zerg to kind of drone up when they see the 3-gate Expo. They just don't expect a Zerg to exploit that timing window where you can kind of go for this massive bust. And what I really like here is because Sen has gotten for his natural expansion, he's not necessarily all in. He can fall back into economy, and as you guys can see here, he's pumping a ton of drones. He's got 49 over 38. He's got complete map control, and really the situation now is on WhiteRa. He needs to figure something out here, and he's actually going to repower his cybernetic score here. Not really necessary, I suppose, because he's gotten all the upgrades he needs, but WhiteRa is going to have to figure something out. Either maybe go for Stargate. It looks like he's decided to go straight into Robo here. His +1 weapons have finished quite a long time ago, now going for +1 armor. But he really needs to figure something out. I would almost suggest, you know, going for Void Rays, because you know the Zerg doesn't have any Hydras out. He's just got Roaches and Zerglings right now. Although he does have a Hydralisk dead now that the lair has finished, and actually we have grooved spines on the way. That is an upgrade for +1 range for the Hydralisks. An observer coming out of this robotics facility, which isn't really going to help all that much. WhiteRa is just going to get inside the main and see, oh man, there's a lot of production in there going on. Now actually pushing out with a pretty sizable army of zealots and sentries, and I see now why Sen wants to get his Hydralisks out. Hydralisk can deal with this gateway army very easily, and wow, Sen here building a ton of spine crawlers, and it seems that WhiteRa has amassed a pretty sizable army, and this army, I can guarantee, will deal with a very large amount of roaches. Just pure roaches will not fare well against this army, but it looks like now spine crawlers advancing forward a lot, as well as Hydras coming out from the back, and here we go, WhiteRa laying down the force field smackdown, but these spine crawlers about to get in position as they burrow underground, and that is going to provide the necessary firepower for Zerg King, aka Sen here, to probably push this Protoss army all the way back. Well, no, maybe not. Come on, WhiteRa here, really able to fend for his own and really using those force fields, which this is why I'm saying sentries in the beginning of the game are so important. You warp them in early on, you build up and amass that energy while you're waiting, and then your sentries will have like 4 force fields apiece. I believe they take 50 energy and 200 max energy capacity on a sentry, so that's 4 force fields apiece as you build up that energy, and it really helps to deal with roaches, even Hydralisks. Here we go though, now that the Hydras have come out, this is going to really provide the DPS that Sen needs to deal with this primarily gateway army, and that's a lot of Hydralisks here, ladies and gentlemen. WhiteRa really cannot push out. He can't push into this grid of spine crawlers. This one right here just kind of at the edge of the creep being nourished. Remember, Zerg buildings do need nourishment from the creep. They are very, very needy units. Sen right now has complete control of this game, ladies and gentlemen. He has map control. He's got creep and spine crawlers right outside of WhiteRa's natural. WhiteRa looks like he was going to try to go for this backside expansion. But, oh man, he's just so behind now, I feel, that he has to decide, like, do I have time to bust down these rocks and grab a Protoss Expo back there to the Nexus? And if I do, will I be able to defend if the Zerg Sen decides to bust through this back door? It is certainly going to be a tough situation. This probe here actually taking the wrong turn and will actually finally get its butt up there to build a Nexus, but wow. I like this by WhiteRa. He's doing what he needs to do, but Sen is going for the jugular here. He's just going to try to cut off WhiteRa straight at the throat, and I don't know if WhiteRa can win a game of attrition. It's going to be a very close battle here. Spine crawlers advancing themselves forward. WhiteRa is looking like he's getting out concaved by the Hydras and spine crawlers, and Sen may actually have enough to bust WhiteRa right here, right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this could be a pretty big upset. If we move on to game 2 with Sen taking the 1-0 lead, WhiteRa will certainly have a very difficult journey ahead of him if he wants to get out of the round of 16. Sen here just inches away from WhiteRa's natural expansion with those spine crawlers. And here's what I was really not thrilled about. If you're a WhiteRa fan, Sen can take out these gold rocks, he can get the hatchery here, and obviously that is going to allow Sen to just get more of an economy when it comes to the late game. If WhiteRa can even survive to the late game, more Hydralisks pushing in here with the help of the creep and the spine crawlers, and it looks like, wow, Sen is going to even be able to snipe the cybernetics core with the spotting of the Overlord above. Hydralisk picking off the cyber core, and now WhiteRa will not be able to produce any more stalkers, and that is devastating to his army. Without stalker support, he's left with primarily zealots, immortals, and sentries, and none of those units are able to be ably equipped to deal with Hydralisks, not in this amount. Right now, WhiteRa really needs either a crap ton of stalkers or Colossus, and unfortunately I just don't see any of those units coming out anytime soon. New cybernetics core now warping in. WhiteRa on the back foot. The creep is getting closer and closer. The overlords are pooping it just outside of the range of these photon cannons, and I think Sen is just waiting. He's kind of biding his time to finish this game off. The spine crawlers are advancing ever more forward. Thankfully for WhiteRa, these rocks have still not been exploited yet, so WhiteRa is only fighting one frontier, but the spine crawlers once again morphing to get a little closer. Nice force fields by WhiteRa, splitting the Hydralisks away from those spine crawlers at the front, and WhiteRa will be able to pick off a couple of those spine crawlers, but at what cost? Losing a lot of his forces. A lot of his army right now is also depleted in terms of shields, and he has to really hold on here. Now Sen even bringing his queens off the line, using transfuse on his spine crawlers to keep them alive, and this is really looking grim for WhiteRa. He just lost his last immortal. It doesn't really matter. I guess he doesn't really need immortals in the first place. He just needs Colossus. He needs maybe Psystorm, but none of those units are coming out anytime soon. And the only unit he can rely on are these Stalkers, which just aren't going to really cut the cheese. And these Overlords, I guess finally the pooping will be stopped. WhiteRa has gotten tired of people defecating on his turf right outside his natural, but Sen is gonna be relentless, continuing to push forward, has so many forces at the front door here, and these Hydralisks may be going for the kill. I don't know if Sen's got it. I don't know if WhiteRa's got enough to hold this off. He has 1 armor, 1 weapons. Sen has only 1 weapons, but he just has so much army back at home, continuing the production of Hydralisks. If we pull the income tab up, both players pretty dead even, but really at 3 base to 3 base, and with Sen having this gold expansion, and with Sen at the front of WhiteRa, applying pressure, not allowing WhiteRa to build up a bulky army, I think this game has an inevitable conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. WhiteRa, he's got some mining going on back here, but eventually I think that expansion will be exploited by Sen, since just too good of a player not to realize that, you know, there's a rock back here. He already spotted it. He can pick that off at any time he pleases. Perhaps he's just going to go for the kill, though. It certainly looks like he's gearing up to just amass a large army, creep towards the Protoss Natural, and just end the game. Certainly a possibility here. WhiteRa needs a miracle right now. He's at 95 supply, under 134. He's warping in more Stalkers, but no robotic support bay whatsoever. He's really relying primarily on gateway units, and that's just not the combination of units that WhiteRa needs to win this game. He desperately needs Colossus right now. Sen just getting ever more closer to taking the first victory here in the round of 16. He's got so many Hydralisks and Roaches. He's at 150 supply over 103. Couple force fields getting laid down. Desperation force fields, it almost seems like blocking off half the army, so WhiteRa may be able to take out this first half. But the question is, does he have enough firepower to survive the second half? And Sen is just waiting. He's just waiting for those force fields to go down. No more sentries, which means there's not going to be any more energy for force fields. And WhiteRa, GG's. Sen taking the first game in this series. Brilliant win, brilliant play by Sen. Really putting the pressure on by continually spreading the creep ever more closer to WhiteRa's base. And unfortunately for WhiteRa fans everywhere, it's 1 game down for WhiteRa, and he's certainly going to have to mount an epic comeback to get back in this game. I'm not going to waste any more time as we move on to game 2, so make sure you guys stay tuned. Thanks a lot for subscribing, guys. HD, signing out.